Hello and welcome. Another edition of Coach's Corner. Each and every Thursday, I get the opportunity to speak with college coaches from all over the country, all levels, all divisions. And today we're going to take a good hard look at a school out on the West Coast, University of Pacific, uh, in the WCC Athletic Conference. And Reed Peters, head coach, brand new head coach at Pacific. First and foremost, Coach, thank you for taking a few minutes out of your day to join me today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
I want to talk. When people start thinking Division One baseball, the landscape is changing all around us. But you just are kind of coming from the JUCO route, Delta, and now going into the NCAA Division One landscape. What made University of Pacific, attractive to you as a coach and wanting to take over the helm with their program?
Well, for one, it was a very convenient move for me. Just we're literally 2 blocks away from Delta, so I didn't have to move. I didn't have to move my family, so that made it very convenient. Number two is a challenge. At Delta, we'd been at the top or very near the top every single year in California, and have established that program and took it from the bottom of the barrel in the conference all the way to the top in a quick amount of time. So that was a challenge. For some reason, I keep taking on these challenges of rebuilding programs, and this is another rebuild. I mean, obviously Pacific hasn't been great, but I do think it has all the necessary ingredients to be successful. Great facilities, great education, great weather, everything you can ask for, and I think it's a challenge that I'm looking forward to.
When we start talking about the weather and the campus, like, tell us a little bit about what makes Pacific, from an academic perspective, an attractive opportunity and option for a potential student athlete. Some of the majors that stick out, that a lot of the athletes gravitate towards, things that make Pacific something that student athletes and families should be giving consideration to.
Well, it is one of the top academic schools in the country in terms of alumni graduate earnings. When people graduate from here, it's number two in the country in terms of the amount of earnings that people will make when they graduate. So it's a very valuable degree. We have a tremendous amount of great academic programs. The business schools is one of the best out there. Kinesiology. Uh, Great law school, pharmacy, dentistry. I mean, you got a lot of different majors. Engineering's big. So yeah, it's one of the best degrees that you could possibly get. Great student to professor ratios. I think it's 14 to 1, 6,000 students full time here academically. So it's not a huge campus where you get a lot of one-on-one attention here.
One of the famous alums being Scott Boras. Those of you in the baseball world and realm will understand who Scott Boras is. And as a former student athlete at Pacific and now as an MLB agent, that's something that should speak volumes as to the quality of the academics as well as the athletics. We are entering into the quiet period here, Reed, and that's goes into March of 2025. Our camps, how are you getting out to see student athletes? And more importantly, how would you like student athletes to make themselves available to you as a staff to kind of evaluate for potential fits?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, we recruit pretty much nationwide. I mean, most of our recruiting is done, west of the Mississippi, but we are open to students from all over the world, for that matter. I mean, a lot of our programs here probably have half of their roster, like water polo and basketball, have half their roster are international students. So for us, it's the same. I mean, whether you're in state, out of state, international, it's all the same rate. So that's nice that we don't have to pretty much focus on in state athletes. But so far, we've been to Texas, Kansas, Seattle, Arizona, kind of trying to go everywhere that we can possibly go within budget to find athletes. And like I said, we're open to everybody, JUCO guys, high school guys, even the transfer portal. So we're wide open when it comes to that.
Will you be conducting camps during the quiet period? Do you have any camps?
Yes,
Uh,
we'll have some team camps, and those seem to be more popular now rather than the individual prospect camps. But we will have a prospect camp, and then we'll have multiple team camps as well.
I want to let parents and student athletes know that, schools such as Pacific, you can find out all that information, their schedule, their roster, the contact information for college coaches. Download the Baseball Blue Book app. It's brand new. It's in the Google and Apple store. You can find out and show the coaching staff at Pacific your particular videos, your skill sets, allow them your transcript, etc. All information pertaining to baseball is available in the Baseball Blue Book, and this would be a good opportunity if you have interest in Pacific. Reed, one of the other big topics of discussion is the opt-in, or Division One athletics are constantly evolving. Talk a little bit about the role of the high school athlete with regard to your recruiting, both now and potentially in the future. It's now more than ever, the high school athlete from a physical perspective has to kind of be up to speed sooner as they enter campus or step onto campus than any other time in the past.
Yeah, it's this whole new process with the transfer portal and everything has definitely hurt the high school athlete. Like you said, physically, I mean, there's a big difference between you put in COVID into the mix, 25-year-olds now at the Division One level versus an 18-year-old, and physically, there's a big gap there. So, that's become more and more important for the high school kids to hit the weight room and try to catch up physically with the older kids and be ready right away to come in and play. And if you're not, you're probably going to have to go to a junior college first before you have a chance to go to Division One.
You bring up the international student, and we have a very, very large following in Canada. Deal with a lot of parents that play baseball, and they find it difficult to make that transition. So, based on what you're saying, Pacific may be a good fit for that student athlete that has the high level academic as well as athletic skill set, to find their way down from the Great White North, so to speak, down into Pacific. But talk also about your schedule. I mean, you had mentioned earlier about Indiana State. You're not just playing out on the West Coast. In today's world, you have to do a little traveling that may be appealing or attractive to the student athletes up north.
Right. Yeah, we do go to Indiana State this year, Seattle. We do play up north. And that's kind of the climate nowadays with Division One athletics. I mean, you see the conference realignment, and people are going all over the country to play. But yeah, we our conference definitely um, is in mostly California. We are going to add Grand Canyon and Seattle to it as well. So the nice thing about our conference is the weather's pretty good everywhere we go for the most part, especially here in California. So it's nice to stay in California because the weather's going to be great. But yeah, we do travel, Indiana State and some other places too. So trying to get more exposure for our program to other areas of the country is going to help, I think.
You coming from the JUCO route, I would love for you to kind of talk. A lot of parents, student athletes that are kind of unfamiliar with the caliber of play. California JUCO is a whole different world than other parts of the country. But can you speak to the JUCO student athlete now is going to be in demand because of the preparation, the resume building, for lack of a better term. And parents need to understand that's not just a natural progression from high school to junior college. It's not the equivalent of a high level high school. It is elite college baseballs. Can you talk about that transition from high school to JUCO and then obviously JUCO into the NCAA Division One?
Yeah, I think if you go to the right JUCO, it will definitely prepare you for Division One baseball. I mean, I'll look at Delta for example. I was there 17 years. This last year we had 16 Division One transfers off of our team. The year before we had 14. The year before that we had 19. So, um, if you go to the right junior college where there's good coaching, good resources, good competition, a good league, it will definitely prepare you for Division One baseball. And the nice thing is you go into a junior college and you're competing against 18 and 19-year-olds, kids your own age. It allows you to hit the weight room and develop physically and catch up with the guys that are, juniors and seniors at the Division I level, and give you 2 more years of growth before you go to that Division I level. So I'm a big proponent of junior college. Obviously, I was at that level for 17 years, but I also coached at the Air Force Academy Division I for 5 years, and you know, and now here at Pacific. So I've been at both levels, and they all have their definite pros and cons to each.
And Reed, as a coach and a developer of student athletes over the last 20 plus years, if you could offer, a student athlete that has a sincere desire to play baseball at the collegiate level, what are some of the skill sets over and above the obvious, the velocity or the whatever measurable from a hitting perspective, exit velocity? What are some of the skill set qualities that they should aspire to have when they step foot on a college campus? What are some insights that you can provide saying, hey, if you really want to be prepared to be a college student athlete, make sure you have these skill sets ready to go?
Well, I think the two main things that set us apart at Delta, for example, were our development in terms of the mental game and our development in the weight room. Obviously this game has changed quite a bit. It's a lot more physical now. You got to throw harder. You got to hit the ball farther, and that's kind of what everybody wants now. And that starts at the major level, league level, and still works down. So physically, you have to be able to drive the baseball, and that a lot of that comes from the weight room. The analytics are a big part now too. So you have your exit velocity, your launch angles, all those things. So that's been another part that's changed. And those are things that, definitely aren't an end all thing, but definitely play a part. And then for me, I'm a big proponent of the mental game. And, the higher you go, everybody starts getting similar in terms of their physical ability. So what separates a lot of guys is the mental part of the game. And sports psychology is a part that I've been really big into. I was fortunate that I played in the Angels organization for 5 years, and our team psychologist was Ken Revisit, and he wrote
Oh,
the book Heads Up Baseball and Heads Up
right.
Baseball 2.0. And I got to learn all that from him firsthand as a player. And we really are big on that with our players, and I teach that to all of them now. And that is just a big separator. I think like I said, when guys become similar athletically and physically, then the mental game can be a separator.
And I encourage parents, if you have the ability to get the Audible book or get the book that Ken wrote years ago, it's probably the best book as far as mental approach, mental preparation, and mental discipline that athletes, all ages, really need to learn. And I think it's a wonderful resource for families. And on that topic, when a high school student athlete enters college, as you are well aware, you go from 20 to 30 high school games throughout the course of a 3 month season to really college athletics, college baseball. You could make a case that it's 11 out of the 12 months, and the only month you're really not in the baseball mindset is probably during the holiday season, between November and December. Can you talk a little bit about that 11-month cycle of fall baseball that leads into your spring season, that leads into the college summer leagues now, and really the true preparation that it takes for high school athletes to have that mindset of strength training is all year round, skill set development is all year round? Can you kind of get them to understand what that time management skill looks like when they get into college?
Yeah, it's definitely year round. And for example, our guys will weight train in the morning. They'll put an hour into the weight room. They'll do some conditioning as well, some plyometric training, agility training, sprint training in the morning. Then they have a gap. They go to class. They do all that, and then we'll go later in the afternoon with the actual skill work on the field. So it's a full day. It's a full day between academics and athletics. I mean, you're typically looking at 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. anymore, and it's year round, like you said. And a lot of these kids nowadays play travel ball year round, but it's a little bit different when you're conditioning and weight training and doing all those things year round. And um, we're big in the fall and just teaching them the game, developing the skill set, but just teaching them how to play the game right. Obviously, once you get into the season, you're playing 4 or 5 days a week, and now we expect you to just do those things naturally, and then now it's just a matter of getting the reps that you need and being ready to go on game day.
One of the things that I get asked a lot about, Coach, is now with this potential roster cap. Don't know what the final number will be yet, but with the potential of a roster cap somewhere in the mid 30s, do you feel that there will be a renewed interest or emphasis on two-way players? I mean, we watch Otani at the major league level, but do you ever think that the two-way player, the pitcher slash hitter, do you think that that will kind of grow on coaches to add some flexibility and obviously versatility on college rosters in the future?
Definitely. And when I was at the junior college level, we could have as many players as we wanted. And we did. We had 50 plus players in the program every year. And we didn't have any two-way guys, maybe one a year. And now that I'm here at Pacific, I can tell you we already have five two-way guys. So it will
Wow.
definitely help, especially if you go down to 34 in the inter squad world, you need at least that many to have good inter squads. But obviously, when you travel as well, you're talking even less players, maybe 26, 28 players that you can take on the road. Those two-way guys are very, very valuable.
Yeah, and I think this really, parents should have an understanding when somebody, understand that if your sons have a skill set to be able to pitch as well as hit, trying to become a PO at a very early age, 13 or 14, may not be the best approach. Wait until a little bit older, see what kind of happens with regard to skill and strength, and then make a decision. And Reed, I would love for you to explain, with regard to the West Coast schools, there's a different style of baseball on the West Coast. There's an emphasis on, what some might refer to as the old time baseball moving runners, but talk about the intellectual capacity or the instinctual needs for athletes. We get caught up in analytics and metrics, but it's also a very big point for student athletes to have those instincts and intellect of the game that help them succeed at the college level.
Exactly right. And I think as coaches, I mean, we always laugh about it, but it seems like we're having to reteach the game a lot. And kids play travel ball year round, and you would think the instincts would get better, but it seems like they've gotten worse. And a lot of it's just because they don't get coached. You learn a lot in practice, and you can teach in practice. Game day, you just got to let guys go and let them play. And unfortunately, the travel ball at the younger levels where they're playing just game after game after game after game, they don't really learn the game when they do that because there's not a lot of coaching that goes on during that time. So, like I said, for us in the fall is we'll really try to teach, the mental part of the game, but also the instinctual part of the game, where what are your base running reads, what are you supposed to do in these situations, and that takes a lot of repetition, and repetition is what ultimately leads to instinct, and that takes a lot of time, and unfortunately we have some time in the fall to do that.
Repetition will always lead to retention. Without reps, you cannot duplicate game situations in your head or on a whiteboard. It really takes a lot of repetitions. One of the aspects of baseball recruiting that I think is we don't talk enough about, and it's kind of on the same line as baseball intellect, is base running. We talk about exit velocity, we talk about velocity off of the mound and pop times from a catcher, and a lot of parents will come at me and say, well, why are you always so heck bent on talking to us about base running? I would love your thoughts, your opinion on that's a skill set that is undertaught, underdeveloped, but is so significant at the highest levels of the sport. Can you talk a little bit about learning how to run bases properly, understanding reads, understanding game situations, things of that nature? And how do you practice it, or how do you suggest that athletes can learn base running?
Base running is definitely underrated, and it's one of the more important parts of the game. And we practice that at least 3 times. I mean, we do it every day. Like during batting practice, you'll run bases, you'll get your reads, your no out reads, your one out reads, infield in, infield back, all those things, and the priorities. At second base with no outs, your priorities 90 feet. With one out, you're thinking more score and all those things. But we'll do that during batting practice every day. But then 2-3 times a week, we'll set aside 30 minutes just to work strictly on one part of base running, whether it be, second base to third base, or, your steal breaks at first base, or your reads on second base, whatever it might be. Ball and dirt is a huge thing. Every 90 feet is crucial. And if you can get an extra 90 feet, being going first to third, or a ball in the dirt, or a steal, or whatever it might be, you're taking yourself out of the double play situation. You're putting yourself into scoring position. And ultimately, in any close game, it usually comes down to base running or one of the small things like that dictates who wins and loses.
Well, Reed, I want to say thank you. I learned a lot today about you as a coach, obviously about University of Pacific. I really want to encourage parents and student athletes. You're starting to now broaden your look at different universities and colleges throughout the country. One of the most underrated academic institutions in the country is Pacific, and I can assure you, I've done some research prior to talking to Reed today, that this is a school that, it's on the West Coast, but now Division I baseball, we have former Pac-12 schools in the Big Ten. They're coming to the East Coast. We have Cal and Stanford going into the ACC. So the world of college athletics is, not only domestic, but it's international, up and down, east and west, north and south. So I strongly encourage you, if there's a camp, obviously you can't go wrong with the weather on the West Coast. Take advantage, look up and know. We'll put the camp schedule. Not only will it be in the Baseball Blue Book, the app, but we'll have it here in the description. We'll have all the contact information. And Coach Reed, real quick, how do you like to be contacted? Do you like the emails? Do you like the social media? How do you and your staff like to be approached by a potential student athlete?
Well, I'm a little bit old school. I like email, but video is huge. I mean, more video that we can see on guys, that gives us a great starting point. We do have the social media, and my assistants are big with social media. But any way that you can reach out, and all of them are great. Email, social media, and whatever it is that you can do to get us video to get it started. And then obviously, as any coach wants to see it in person before they make a commitment to a scholarship. So camps, big showcases. Sometimes those are money makers, sometimes they're not. But the more exposure you can get, the better off, and in-person exposure is best.
Well, the biggest thing about camps that I tell all parents is you're spending money on gate fees, you're spending money on
Right.
traveling to tournaments, double headers on Saturday, double headers on Sunday. The best value for your money is a college camp. Yes, they cost money, but you get in front of a college coach. But best of all, you get to see the campus. You get to see
Right.
the facilities, the amenities. You meet the coaches meet your student athlete. It's a win-win situation. So I strongly encourage all parents, consider camps as a great opportunity or an entrance into the college recruiting world. Reed, thank you so much, and best of luck in the 2024-2025 season. And thank you for spending the time with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.